What's up, comic book fans? Pete here from Comic Books Transformed, where me and my good friend Brian over there talk about comics that have been adapted into streaming shows and movies. We are up to episode 4 of The Last of Us. And Brian, I got to ask you right off the bat, just like I do every week, does this episode stray a lot from the game?
I feel like it doesn't stray as much as it jumps ahead a bit, I guess.
Okay.
There was like a very big chunk of gameplay that they skipped, which I guess is fine. And they've remixed a couple things here that we've seen. We've seen kind of a preview of it in the past.
Okay. Well, so like I'm assuming that scene with Jeffrey Wright in the very beginning, that was almost like a prologue scene. Is that in the game? No, right?
I don't believe so. But one thing I completely forgot is Jeffrey Wright does play Isaac Dixon in the game.
I know. They said that in the
forgot about that.
Yeah. They seem to have like kind of struck gold when they made this game. Like they got some really good actors to be in the game itself, and then like it sort of transferred into the show too, where some of the people have played the same characters.
Yeah, I think it's really only Isaac and Marlene. Oh no, there was somebody else in the first season too, wasn't there? I don't really exactly remember.
Well, I think like what happens is that some people play a certain character in the game, and then they play a different, maybe older character in the show. Like,
oh yeah, like Troy Baker was some like weird dude.
He was like a henchman.
Yeah, he was like a henchman dude, and that's the voice of Joel in the game. Yeah, and then obviously we have Ashley Johnson, who plays Ellie in the game, was Ellie's mom in that flashback story in season 1.
And Ashley Johnson is she's Ellie in the first game and the second game, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, very cool. So, Jeffrey Wright is a fantastic actor, and I've pretty much loved him in everything that he's in, even if it's a subpar thing like What If. But that first scene, I just really love that first scene where it's this Fedra guy telling a little story, and he's kind of just he's kind of like, oh, we did a police brutality. Remember when we did a police brutality? And everyone's like, yeah, police brutality is awesome. And then, Jeffrey Wright basically just calls them assholes. And, however, like his position, like as the commander, he could kind of say that. Nobody even like challenges him. They're like, oh, yeah, we're assholes. I know.
Yeah, the thing he calls out to is really powerful too. The whole they were jokingly calling people voters, and then his revelation about that was very powerful. It's like, oh, they mockingly called them voters because we took away their rights.
Yeah,
which again just feels like reality sometimes.
Yes, and I kind of wanted to like go a little bit off track and get a little existential with you to hear your thoughts. But it seems like for this show, like that second episode was sort of a unique episode where they had this big battle, and you're really invested in the people in this town. Whereas I think like the main idea behind the show, and I'm assuming the game too, is just sort of going through places where humanity is trying to sort of like rebuild or gain control, and in most cases, pretty much every case, humans are brutal. I think even after the credits little documentary part, they were talking about how it's either us versus cordyceps or it's us, as like tribes or something like that. Did you watch that after the show?
I did, yeah. It really does seem that Jackson is Jackson Hole is like the one example of a decent civilization left in the world in this game.
Right. And so to kind of continue the existential conversation, I love this one guy, Jason Pargin. He does all these YouTube videos. He wrote John Dies at the End, the book. He had a pen name. He was David Wong for a while, but he's Jason Pargin. And he was saying that one of the things that, overwhelms us or depresses us is like the little things in life that we're always worrying about. Like, oh, do I need to change my oil in my car? Oh, is there a leak in the house? And he was saying that people will replace all those little individual fears with one massive thing to focus on. And he used QAnon as an example. Man, this video is going to get so red flagged. I'm talking about police brutality, QAnon. But I think that's why apocalyptic or post-apocalyptic storytelling is so appealing to people, because you replace all the little stresses that you have with "I need to survive," and I think that's what this whole show and game is about.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you're kind of throwing away the comforts of humanity here. You're replacing those little fears with, holy shit, I have to find food, otherwise I'm gonna die.
Yes. I love how I'm talking about like the comforts and stuff, and my mom just handed me a plate with pancakes and bacon. So let me ask you this, just to be kind of fun, and we'll of course talk about the show. But does that ever hold any appeal for you? The idea of like getting rid of all your little worries and just basically focusing on survival.
Nah, I'm dead. Yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to say I wouldn't give it a go, but I don't think I'd last very long.
Yeah, you and me both. I probably just would have a heart attack with the idea of it happening.
Yeah,
like, oh god, there's mushroom people. You know.
What's terrible too is like I get mushrooms in my backyard all the time.
You're dead. You're dead, man. Okay. That's the uprising. So let's talk about the episode though. So we see basically the beginning of WLF, right? Because that's the group that Jeffrey Wright's in charge of.
Yeah, I don't know if he's in charge of it. Yeah, I guess he is in charge of it in the present time, yes. But that's essentially how he joins. We do not see anything like that. There's no flashbacks outside of the main characters really here. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was an interesting take there. I really liked that he went out there, met with the person, then went back for that one guy who was kind of like naive in a way, but not disrespectful. Mm-hmm. And it's also a really nice throwback at the end. He's one of the guys, guarding one of the doors. Mm-hmm. As he's hearing these horrific things go on,
and he's completely bought in.
Yeah. It's like animals, they should die. Yeah.
And so we see those people once again. They're Seraphites, right? That's what they.
Seraphites, yes.
And so I think they call them scars, and it's because they put those scars on their cheek. When you play the game, do they like elaborate on their religion at all? Like, do they elaborate on who this woman is that they're talking about?
Yes, they do. I don't want to go too in depth with it because there is. There will be a section they go. They're around them more, I guess. I'll say.
Okay.
But yes, there are those messages on the wall that like there is this like prophet sort of thing, and that was a big part of the game.
Yeah, and it's definitely the apocalypse because there's a woman god. She must be like a lesbian too, right? It's just so woke. Wokeism finally combines with mushrooms and brings down our society.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
But I mean, that's the whole thing, right? Is that you'll see these memes. Sometimes it's just kind of like, oh, of course we got to fucking do this every fucking time. But, they're like, oh, they're woke. Oh, my God, a lesbian exists. Oh, God, And, like, is that what happened when the game came out? Where this one obviously clearly explores Ellie's sexuality more than the first season.
Yes. I didn't play it when it first came out. I was very late to it. I might have played the first game before the first season, but I definitely played the second game after the first season or during or something. So the big backlash was about what happened with Joel.
Yeah.
And that Abby was like a very masculine built woman. Mm-hmm. And people did not like her because of what she did. And they did not. And I guess part of that was also because of how she looked as well. And they had to play as her. So that was like the really big controversy. I don't think there was much to be made about Ellie's sexuality in it.
Yeah.
So, I could be wrong though. I'm sure there were people that were pissed about that as well.
Right. But see, like, I'm pretty sure you told me when we did our review that scene when they're at the dance and she's dancing with Dina and then like Joel intervenes or whatever. I guess maybe I kind of forgot that you said that that's in the game, but I saw footage from the game where Joel steps in and I was like, oh, okay. So this like is an issue in the game. It's not just like running around and hiding from clickers and scavengers and stuff.
Yes. No. Yeah, that was directly from the game, but it's in a flashback sequence later on. So you hear about that. Like one of the things you do see is when Jesse shows up at Ellie's like garage apartment thing, and they talk about that scene, but you don't see it until much later in the game.
Oh, okay. And then one of the things they mentioned at the after the episode part is they talk about how the scene where Ellie is playing the guitar is a scene that like you don't necessarily have to play through in the game, but you could like I guess unlock it or encounter it.
It's like an optional thing you find. Like you have to like go. I believe you can't avoid going through that building, but I guess you have to pick up the guitar and then play it, and then it will play out like that. So I do remember that playing that scene. And that was the song they played as well.
Well, so here's the thing, right? I'm sure this makes for good podcast recording, me chewing on pancakes, but Bella Ramsey just fucking killed it in that scene. Like her voice was beautiful, and it was just like the right way to sing that song with an acoustic guitar.
Yes, I do want to point out though that like the inflection she has on like the on the words, that's exactly how Ashley Johnson sang it in the game. So it was a really nice touch that how closely she mirrored that. And I believe she actually did play it as well. Like she was playing the guitar as well as singing.
Man, Ashley Johnson, it's just so funny to think that like the little girl on Growing Pains, I was like, oh, this annoying little sister that they introduced. She's like this woman that's been on like Critical Role, and she's the voice actress of so many roles. She's Ellie.
Yeah.
Very, very impressive.
Yeah, absolutely.
So why don't we talk about that interrogation scene between Jeffrey Wright. What? I'm sorry. What is his name again? Jeffrey Wright's character?
Isaac Dixon, which is funny because of the Dixon brothers and The Walking Dead.
Oh, yes. Okay. Well, wait. Did The Walking Dead comic was out before the game?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, wait. The Dixon brothers aren't in the Walking Dead comic.
Merle is.
Right. Merle is. Right. Daryl's not. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, is that interrogation scene in the game?
So as I mentioned in previous recordings, I'm rewatching a playthrough because it too time consuming to play. We'll also play this game in addition to watching all the things we're watching. So it's a lot easier to just kind of put it on the background. So there are scenes with the character, but I have not gotten to them sequentially yet. So I think they skipped ahead a bit potentially there.
Yeah, like you were saying. Yeah.
I don't remember if this interrogation particularly is in the game or not, but you do definitely meet the character at some point later on, but I haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
So yeah, like basically what I said before is that they skipped a big chunk of gameplay because really it's gameplay. Like, not everything they're going to be doing is going to be television worthy, I suppose.
Right.
But they're basically trying to get into Seattle. They go into like there are some nice character moments in the game that I feel were like skipped. Like they're in like a courthouse at one point, and then they're in like a synagogue, and there's a lot of talk about like Dina being Jewish and faith and how that is interacting with their lives throughout the apocalypse, sort of. So that was an interesting thing that I'm surprised they skipped over. But they at the point where they are in the movie theater, in the game, they had already like fought a couple of the WLF people, and the guy we saw in the needle at the end of the previous episode. I guess it was the previous episode. And is that the new Falcon?
Oh,
Brave New World.
Yeah, I didn't even make that connection, but
I think it might
probably.
be. So like they had already found and killed him.
Okay.
And then the other really big important thing too is that again in the game they're following Tommy's trail, and in this they're embarking on their own.
Okay, that's really interesting. Yeah, that sequence, and they talk about the sequence where they finally kind of interact with it. Well, they don't really interact with them, but they're near the WLF people. They were talking about how they built this gigantic, elaborate set. And it's this kind of set piece moment where you kind of follow the girls through different parts of the building. Very intense, very scary. I wasn't necessarily concerned that like Dina was going to die or anything like that, but it did open up this like really great dramatic moment. This great story beat where like Dina's about to get bit by a clicker, and then Ellie puts her arm up just to protect her. The clicker bites her, and then there comes this inevitable, oh, she's been bit. She's going to turn into a clicker, and then Ellie has to reveal her truth.
Yeah, so it's funny how it happened. Definitely happened different in the game. This is one of the divergences. So Ellie doesn't get bit. Whatever, that's fine. What happened? The spores, they go through those areas where the clickers kind of like breed and the mushrooms kind of grow and all that stuff. And there's spores everywhere. They have to wear gas masks. Ellie's mask gets broken, and Dina almost takes her mask off to give to Ellie, and she's like, no. And that's the event that happened. She doesn't get bit. And it's funny that the confrontation that the two of them have in the theater is more about Dina being pregnant, and Ellie's like, why the fuck were you coming here? Why didn't you tell me? Like, you're pregnant. You shouldn't be here with me. This is dangerous. And it's like nothing about. She's just like, oh, okay, like okay, you're immune, okay.
Right.
There's not a big deal made out of it, and I think I preferred it like that than the freak out that TV Dina has over it.
Really, you really prefer that versus her? Like, don't you think it's like kind of interesting? Because there's no concept of a person being immune. And then all of a sudden she's bit. So it's like, okay, she's going to become one. I have to kill her. It kind of mirrors the scene where Ellie is. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's more like there's all these little contextual clues that throughout the game with these little comments. Like she's aware of the burn on her arm. And she's like, oh, she puts it all together kind of quickly and believes it. Yeah. It's not that she glosses over it. But like she doesn't completely freak out and sit there with the gun pointed at her all night. Like I think that was a little. I mean, I understand that that's a natural reaction probably to something like that, especially with the character that you're falling in love with.
Yeah.
But I think the game handled some of these like heartfelt moments better in better ways, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's interesting. I guess, I mean, because how many hours is the game? You've told me a couple of times. It was like 16 hours or something.
This video here that I'm watching, which I actually have on, because I was watching that's why I was late. Just the story parts are 8 hours.
Yeah. Well, okay. So that actually kind of syncs up with the show.
With the gameplay added into it, you're probably more than doubling that, obviously.
Right. And just like you said, there's all this kind of subtle stuff that like you might see things or a person might make a comment while you're just moving through an area and stuff, and just adds to the context. I got you. What's interesting about what you said though is that like in the show, there really isn't a part where Ellie's like, what are you, stupid for coming here and being pregnant? There's nothing like that. She's just like, oh, so I'm gonna be a dad.
Yeah, like I don't remember if she says a line like that in the game because I rewatched that a couple days ago. But it's and I think that's a more natural reaction. It's just like, why did you come with me? And I guess she didn't know in either case, and it kind of started happening along the way. But the concern is that she's now responsible for another life, and that she shouldn't be putting herself in danger.
Right. And I was worried because there was this one sequence where they're separated, and then Dina is like looking at something, and you don't know what she's looking at. I'm like, oh, is this some kind of bad thing? Is she going to betray Ellie? But then it's like you find out it's because she took like 7 pregnancy tests. She must have had a lot to drink, before she did that. but that sequence is great. And then you mentioned gas mask. That's kind of a little slightly spoilery because I know that in the trailer for next week's episode, they imply that like it's in the air that you can just breathe in cordyceps or whatever and become infected. And they kind of, I think the very last shot of the next week video is like an infected kind of just opening their mouth and shit flying out of it.
Oh, I don't remember seeing that part, but yeah, a significant part of the game you're wearing, even in the first game, you're wearing a gas mask going through these areas where very visibly spores floating around in the area, and that's they haven't really. I guess they showed that in the first season, but they haven't really dealt with it in this season. I thought they said they were going to deal with it, so I guess next week's episode is where they do.
Yeah. I think that like the first season was such a success that they're like, okay, well, let's just put a lot of money into this show. And maybe in the first season, it would be too ambitious to really overdo it with the mushroomy kind of stuff, the spore stuff.
Yeah.
And so now they're kind of getting into it more. That whole sequence where they go into the theater, like you said, and there's WLF people hanging, they have their fucking like intestines sticking out. And then like these people show up and they're obviously very triggered and like ready to act. That was very tense. And then just to add the clickers, I really like that part where Dina's sitting there and she's like kind of counting their noises to see how many. And then there's just like a whole fucking swarm of them.
Yes.
Really great sequence. That's in the game too?
Yeah, that's in the game. That's pretty much how it goes, essentially. There are less clickers, but yeah, the WLF, you see them walking. You walk into that room, you see the bodies hanging, you see their reaction to it. You realize that you're in some like deep-seated shit here. And then they do escape the same way, essentially, going through that subway area. There are a lot less clickers though. So that was intense. And you mentioned about the budgets and all that. I feel like there's a lot more infected that are less mushroomy, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that's some kind of budget thing.
Yeah, it's much more like The Walking Dead, where they just kind of look like zombies, and then like they do show one clicker like in the door of the train, and it's got the big fucking fungus face thing, But yeah.
There definitely are a lot of enemies that look like that in the game, but I feel like there's more clickers in the game as well.
Right. More people to fight. Yeah. I'm just trying to think of what else was like an important story beat that needed to be discussed. It's a pretty straightforward episode, and it's just kind of going back into the feeling that you had when it was Ellie and Joel, where you're just kind of going through these like deserted areas. You're worried that you're going to make too much noise. You're kind of looking for signs of clickers, signs for other people. I'm trying to think of like where we left off. It was the two of them like kind of revealed their secrets to each other, and I think they're going to set off.
Well, they get the message on the radio, and they find out where they hear one of the WLF member names, and then they're going to go to that area next, I suppose.
Okay, right. Okay, and then I was going to say that the guy who impregnated Dina, that's that guy from Beef. Right?
Yeah, Jesse, yes.
Jesse. And it's funny. I was going to save this for our Thunderbolts discussion. I know you really liked Beef. I really liked Beef. And then it turns out the guy that was one of the creators of Beef, not the main guy, but like the guy who created it with him, he's the one that fucking directed Thunderbolts.
No way.
Yeah.
So
maybe
that's why Stephen Yeun was originally attached to it.
Exactly. And it would have been so much cooler if he was. Guys, that's a little spoiler or a little primer, because Brian and I are actually going to record a Thunderbolts review this morning too. We're going to do a Andor, which I'm just fucking dying to talk about Andor with you. Yeah. But before we jump over to that, what else from this episode did you want to talk about?
That's pretty much it. I'm a little underwhelmed by the kind of remix there with the relationship stuff. They kind of solidified the relationship a lot earlier when they were in Eugene's in the, before they left Jackson, and it's kind of weird how they flopped back and forth on it, and then finally kind of made it official here at this point. As I'm watching the game, I think that the dialogue, the chemistry, I think was better in the game with the relationship, honestly. Mm-hmm. I guess that's it. I could see how somebody that was a Pedro Pascal like stan would be down on the show.
Yeah,
and I would see some validation, I suppose, but not completely. Still watching it, and I really hope So there's a flashback sequence that comes up in the game, like right where they are.
Yeah.
And I imagine they're not going to do it now, but I really hope they don't skip it.
Okay.
But it's very much just like character moments. But
yeah,
it was really good.
Yeah. Well, to go along with your Pedro Pascal point that you just made, you and I had this conversation via text where we were talking about how there's certain comic book characters where it doesn't matter who's writing them. We're interested in reading the comics because they have those characters, right? Yep. And then so many other comic books that we read, it's really kind of based on who's writing the book, right? Like, oh, we're excited because this person's writing it.
Yeah.
I think with The Last of Us, and I guess in general, just to use this metaphor, the actors are like a component of a story where they're the artwork of a comic, or they're obviously the characters of the comic. But with The Last of Us, I think what keeps me invested in the show and interested in the show. Well, first of all, it's great. I love it. I don't have any complaints about it. But second of all, I really have faith in the creative team for this book, for this show. Like they're clearly they've already told a good story in the video game form, and they're telling a good story as a show. So it's like I'll just keep fucking watching this till it's done.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for that like Bill and whatever the other guy's name was, that kind of episode though. You know?
Oh yeah.
I feel like we haven't gotten to that yet, because that was the best episode of that season, I think.
Totally agree. Yes.
And we haven't gotten that here yet. And I know we're only 4 in out of 10 or 9 or 10, whatever it's going to be.
Yeah.
But I hope we do get something like that.
Yeah, and that episode was mostly original stuff for the show.
Yeah, because it was all just told in like notes and not like little notes and articles you found around that area. Because I don't think Bill was even. Oh, Bill was alive. Yeah, he was alive.
Yeah. So then, is there potential for them to mine something in the second game that could make something like that, or no?
Well, I feel like they laid the seeds with Eugene.
Oh, yes.
They haven't told us what happened there. I feel like that's going to be the one.
Okay.
I'm assuming Joel's going to be a part of it, and that's going to be a flashback. So that's what I'm kind of most excited for, I guess.
Okay.
To see.
Yeah.
And I'm still curious to see, is this is season 2 going to cover the entire game or just part of it?
I see.
And I feel like if they could potentially do all of it, or they could split it up, but I wonder how much they'd have to add to split it into a second season.
Yeah.
For this, because there's no third game, and I imagine that there won't be before they would have a third season. So, right. I guess I'm just generally worried about the kind of Game of Thrones effect where they outpace the source material.
Yep. I could totally understand that concern. But with these guys, unlike, the fucking Game of Thrones guys, I have faith in these guys, because they literally, they're the George R.R. Martins. I mean, the one guy is the George R.R. Martin. The other guy is the guy that made Chernobyl.
Yeah. I do think that with Game of Thrones, they just got tired of it.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think that if they had given more time to eat, like more seasons to each book and flesh things out better, it might not have been as bad. I think the main complaint about it, for me at least, was that it was so rushed.
Yes. Yeah, and there was no Jeffrey Wright in Game of Thrones, but Bella Ramsey and Pedro Pascal were in it. And spoilers, they were both killed by like giant creatures or giant people, right?
Yeah.
But now this time around, they have to worry about mushroom people. So
wait, what? Did Leona Mormont get killed?
Yeah. She takes a dagger, dragon glass dagger, and stabs it into a White Walker zombie giant. And it lifts her up, and it's like gonna kill her, and she stabs it in the eye, and it falls over. But because she's being held by it, she kind of gets
okay. Yeah, I honestly forgot. Yeah, obviously we all remember Oberyn Martell's.
Yes. That was when Game of Thrones was at its height. The show. Yeah. Cool, man. Brian, throwing a little spoiler here. Do you have your ranking of the MCU movies?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, great. Well, there goes the hype machine. Pull the lever on the hype machine.
I completely forgot to do it. I was so focused on reading yours, and I didn't cross my mind to do my own.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. It would take up too much time to go through 36 fucking movies.
Yeah.
But let me just ask you this off the top of your head. Where would Thunderbolts fit in that? Like, at least in the range? Like, where if it's in the middle, it's towards the top, what would you say?
Upper mid.
Upper mid. Okay.
So, like, definitely top 15-ish, I would say.
Okay. Higher than me. All right. Yeah, so guys, that's a little preview of our Thunderbolts episode, which we're going to record after we do our Andor. I have like an Andorian boner right now that I need to release with Brian. So we're going to leave The Last of Us and we're going to go record Andor. If you like listening to us talk, you like The Last of Us, please subscribe, and we'll talk to you guys real soon.